What's up, everybody? It's Coach JB. We are back with another Hoop Study Masterclass. Tonight, we have Coach, and I'm going to pronounce your name properly. And if I don't, you're going to correct me. Gaudioso?
Gaudioso, close enough. That's fine.
Gaudioso. All
Yeah.
right, so we have Coach Gaudioso today from Molloy University's Division II school. Coach is going to come and speak to us tonight about recruiting, everything about recruiting. If you have any questions, again, just make sure you plug those in the chat. Before we get started tonight, again, just wanted to shout out our sponsors for the evening. We have Wooter Apparel. If you are looking for anything when it comes to t-shirts, uniforms, backpacks, socks, whatever the case may be, you have to check out Wooter. It's super simple to work with them. You just hop on the website, you fill out a form. It takes like 5 minutes, and then they're going to hook you up with your own personal designer. Your own personal designer, not just some random person. And then the next time you talk to them, it's another random person. They're going to hook you up with somebody, and they're going to help you get through your whole order. We had camp earlier this summer. They got all of our shirts out to us when we were in need. When we were in trouble, we had a full order ready to rock. And then the company said, we had some problems. We can't get it to you. We hit up Wooter. Wooter got it to us in 2 weeks. They knocked it out. Super simple process. Great company to work with. Make sure you check them out. And then, of course, we have Synergy Sports. If you are not on Synergy Sports yet, you are missing out on a ton of film. This is for everybody now. It used to just be professional and college coaches were the only ones with Synergy, and you had to figure out a way to get a login. That's not the case anymore. Everybody's on Synergy now, even high school coaches and AAU. It's the best way to keep track of your film. You can go on and watch film. Anything that you need when it comes to film, Synergy's got you covered. And if you need to get in touch with them, just shoot me an email, justin@hoopstudy.com, and I'm going to put you in touch with our guys at Synergy, and they're going to get you set up. All right. But again, back to our masterclass. Tonight, we have Coach Gaudioso.
Perfect.
Gaudioso?
Perfect. Yeah. Gaudioso.
Right,
He said it perfect the first time.
Got you. I'm big on names. We got Coach here tonight from Molloy University. He's going to talk to us about recruiting. Coach, go ahead, spend 5 minutes. Tell us how you went from how you began and now how you're here speaking with us tonight at Hoop Study.
For sure. So I guess first and foremost, thanks for having me on. I appreciate this. I find these type of sessions very helpful, and I just always very appreciative and fortunate when I can be able to attend one of these and speak. I found out during COVID this type of technology really grew, right? Because we couldn't go to the Final Four, right, as coaches, right? So the NABC had put on a lot of great online clinics, and they kind of grew from that with the technology. So obviously first and fortunate and happy to be here. Getting here, I started out years ago, I'll be honest with you, as a volunteer coach, local coach, just volunteering my time, trying to understand trying to learn more from the coaching aspect, the do's and don'ts, right? Started then, was given an opportunity through AAU, and particularly Long Island Lightning, who I still coach with today during the off season, because I'm very big into loyalty and giving back to our youth. So started from there, and my first college experience was at CCNY, City College of New York. Was very fortunate to have a great experience there, where I was able to recruit and also develop the Rookie of the Year for the conference and for the region. Then went on to St. Joseph's University over in Patchogue for a couple of years, had a couple of successful seasons there, and then through a connection, was able then to go to Molloy, come to Molloy right now, which is a great, like you said, Division II program out in Rockville Center, Long Island, New York, about 35-40 minutes from Manhattan, 10 minutes from my house. So from an accessibility standpoint, my players love it because I'm always available. It's never like I'm in traffic or anything like that. So, very excited to be there. And our season starts in a month for preseason. So really hyped up to get going with it.
Yeah, I went to New York City for the first time this past weekend. People think I'm crazy for that because I'm from Philadelphia. They always said, you're so close. How you never been to New York City? Went to New York City for the first time this past weekend. Went to Wicked. Saw that. If you guys have never been to New York City, if you get a chance to go to Broadway, do it. It's a sick experience. But yeah, way too many people in New York City for me now that I'm out of that life.
For sure. I know Philly. I went to Villanova University, so I know Philly very well.
That's my school, man.
Yep. So big believer in fundamentals and that style of play. So but yeah, if you don't mind, I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's get it.
my saying is we win with players, right? And the theory behind that is, every coach can do end of game situations, can draw ball screens, sets, and plays. But I think you really need the right players and the right student athletes for your program. And I want to touch upon that in a second. But I think that's really just that's the crux of it. If it's like building a house, that's your framework. Is who do you have in your program, the student athletes and the players you have in that program. So you said Gaudioso, so most don't worry, most can't say it, Coach. So, since I've started,
G, we got you.
I've always been Coach G. I'm sure there's plenty of other Coach G's out in the basketball world, but that's what I usually go by. Just to make it easier. Like I mentioned before, I'm at the D2 level. I was at the D3 level for a number of years, AAU coach. I also do trainings in our town because I'm very big into giving back to our youth and giving them opportunities, a lot of opportunities I was given when I was younger. Just some of the accolades, some of the student athletes that I've recruited and developed. Besides, I know this is a recruiting call, but I'm also big into player development, getting guys in the gym and getting guys to improve. And that's what I really love about HoopStudy too. I feel HoopStudy is kind of the A to Z. It's the coaching aspect, but it's also the improvement aspect, and kind of, whether it's, yourself doing the coaching curriculum or Coach DJ doing the moves and counter moves and whatnot. I feel it's a full A to Z. And that's what I'm really big into as well, is just besides recruiting, but just some of the accolades our really recruits and commitments have gotten the stat, when they were there at the schools. And this isn't me, this is them doing the work. Right. I feel I feel part of it is we recruited the right student athlete, and I will get into that in more in the slides as well. But I just wanted to just show some of the accolades they've given, just to kind of recognize them and recognize some of the things that they've done. But again, this is all them putting in the work. As coaches, we help guide them and give them those tools, but they're the ones that really want to be in the gym. They're the ones that want to get at it. They're the ones that want to compete and really try and obtain these awards at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I love giving credit back to the athletes, right? Like as coaches, it's our job, it's our duty to help them get to where where they want to be, but they're not getting there if they're not putting in the work, if they're not getting in the gym.
100%. Couldn't agree with that more. So I've really broken this down into two sections or two areas. So for recruiting, I look at it from the coaching aspect, right? And what I feel coaches should look for, or really what the questions are they should ask themselves. And then I'll get into a later slide, really from the student athlete perspective, right? Like if you want to get recognized, if you want to get noticed, right? I get tons of emails a day, phone calls, DMs, you name it, I get it every day. And I'll get into that as well in terms of some of the things that can help make that student athlete stand out, things that have worked in my sense. But I'll first touch upon the coaches. And the first question is really kind of, what are your requirements for your program, both on and off the court? And if you notice, the first thing with the slide is I say program with a capital P. And every time program is mentioned in these slides, it's capital with a P, because that's how important it is to me. That's how much I value it. And I get the question, Coach, well, what is a program, right? It's not just the X's and O's, right? It's the student athletes, which we're going to talk about later on, and it's their experience. It's what they're going to do after college. Are they going to look to play overseas? Are they going to look to get a job in the professional world? Things of that nature. So I really think it's crucial that we, our program is really that whole A to Z. It's not just X's and O's. It's not just getting in the gym. There's a lot of off the court as much as on court, if not more. I've highlighted what I call the 3 Ks, right? And know exactly what you're searching for in a player is the first one. And the first one is what I call OKG, our kind of guy. And Coach, I'll be honest with you, I can't take full credit for this. This is something I actually stole from Dwayne Stevens when he was at Michigan State working with Tom Izzo. And I had a Zoom with him, and he gave me this idea. And I was like, I like it, so I'm going to steal it, right? So what does that mean, right? Obviously we want talented players, but do they, off the court, do they have the GPA? Do they have the scholastic requirements, right? What's their attitude and what's their coachability, right? They always say there's 2 things you can control 100% of the time, and that's your effort and your attitude. And I fully believe in that, right? And then the last point is their position, their playing style. Is it something we need, for our roster? For example, at Molloy, I'll have 15 guys this year, which is probably the higher end. Last year I had 12. We don't have a JV team. We don't have 30 guys. I have 15 guys. So that's why I really have guys competing, guys getting after it, right? And I had the 15 guys because I like to go live every practice as well, and guys can really have an opportunity. I want all my 15 guys from walk-ons to scholarship players to always have that opportunity. So that's why we kind of keep that roster slim. So when we are recruiting, we are looking for a particular individual. The next
when you're
case,
looking for sorry to cut you off.
yeah, of course.
When you're
No, of course,
looking for
please.
that particular individual, what are the outlets that you're using in order to find those people? Is it word of mouth? Is it social media? Is it a recruiting service? Is it just going to different events, or is it a combination of all of those?
So it's a combination of all of them. Do I get calls from AU coaches and high school coaches and I go to those events? Yes. What I personally like to do is I first and foremost like to go to live events, right? Obviously, I'll look at highlight tapes and I'll look at full game tapes, but I'll usually go to the local live events, or I will go to the big ones, whether if it's in AC or if it's Spooky Nuke within the region. The reason for that, coach, is I get to see the players' good attributes and their bad attributes. When I say bad attributes, if they're taken out of the game, what's their attitude? Are they coaching their other teammates? Are they being a good teammate? Are they picking guys up off the floor? Right? A lot of intangibles that we look for as a program that you may not see on a highlight reel. But I will go off of referrals. I do go through emails as well. And I will get into that as well, kind of what I look for in an email. What kind of distinguishes someone, when they're a student athlete and they're trying to get my attention or another coach's attention that I think, obviously would work. But we do a combination of it all. I don't just say one or the other, but I will look, social media, I will emails, and also referrals, and then most importantly, really the live events.
Now, you might cover this later, but I'm going to ask just because you brought it up. The
Sure.
intangibles that you brought up about diving on the floor for loose balls, how you come out of a game, are you coaching up your teammates? Are those things that you would like to see inside of a highlight tape or a mixtape?
100%. 100%. And the highlight tape is really like that first impression, right? And it's really that first impression to say, okay, like, all right, now you got my attention. Look what this guy's doing, right? And I'm like you said, I'm going to get into it in terms of like what things I don't like to see, right? And we'll touch upon that. But guys that are just dogs, guys that just want to get at it and really love it. Because I feel in order to play at the next level, no matter if it's Division 3, 2, 1, NIIA, whatever it is, you really have to love it, and you have to really understand that level of commitment.
Yeah, for sure.
So the next K is knowing the 360 in the recruit, right? Knowing everything about them, kind of who, first and most importantly, who is his or her major influencers, right? Is it the AU coach? Is it their best friend? Is it their aunt, their uncle, right? What are the likes and dislikes off the court? I touched upon this before. What do they want to pursue after college? And attending all games, showcases, and workouts. I really feel you really got to establish that relationship with the recruit and really know them. You can't just go to one event. You can't just go to one thing, or you cannot just not go to an event and just see them. You have to see them live, bottom line, right? And I think that's really part of all establishing the relationship. And the last K, right, is keeping the relationship. I think this is kind of one of the most important ones. If a recruit tells you no, just be respectful, because I've heard of instances where coaches haven't been, right? And I think that's key, because first and foremost, we're professionals. And secondly, you never know when that recruit is going to come back, right? The biggest thing right now with recruiting is, and we haven't even mentioned this word yet, is portal, right? The transfer portal, right? That's the biggest thing in college basketball and all college sports. So just because they told you, I actually had an example of where a recruit told me no at one college. He went somewhere else. Guess what? Didn't like it. Went in the portal. Guess who he contacted? Myself. And then I wound up getting him at the next college. All because we ended that relationship at the previous college in a professional manner, where best of luck to you. If anything changes, please let me know. That type of mannerism. And I feel that really goes a long way. Not just, just being a professional, because as coaches, that's really what we are. We're professionals of our craft.
That's a big lesson for everybody out there, coaches, athletes, parents, everybody. Don't burn bridges. You never know when that relationship is going to be valuable down the road. So just let it be what it is. Like if somebody says no, don't take it personally. Congratulate them on their other opportunities, and you'll see them down the road.
Definitely, 100%. And then the last section of the slide is kind of, what makes your program stand out and different from others. So, when you're recruiting student athletes, right, you want to be able to not only sell yourself, but sell your program. For us, these are some bullet points that have made our program very standing out. We're, like I said before, we're 35, 40 minutes from New York City. So if guys want to go to the city, they can. If they want to be in the suburbs, they can, right? Upgraded facilities. We just put brand new stands in our facilities. Like these to me, these little things matter, right? Travel accommodations, right? Player development. I'm very big into getting into the gym with guys. So yes, we have a shooting gun and shooting machine, but I'm very big into doing player development with our commits and the guys in our program and establishing that relationship. Again, it goes back to that relationship aspect. And last but not least, gym availability, right? We want guys living in the gym. So, if your program has that gym availability, that's something you want to promote for your program when you're recruiting. And it may be other items that help your program stand out, but it's just something for coaches to think about when you're recruiting, right? Because it's part of the process. It's part about selling your program, understanding really what makes your program stand out and really what do you have to offer your student athlete. So
that's a big question for student athletes to ask coaches as well. If player development is a big deal to you, which hopefully it is, but for some people it's not going to be. But if player development is big for you and getting in the gym is big for you, ask the coaching staff, is this something that's available for the student athletes? Because I can tell you from personal experience that I've had athletes, even as recently as last year, go to college, to high level colleges, not be able to get into the gym. And then they are working out with other universities that are local in order to get into the gym.
Amazing. Yeah. You always want to have that availability. I mean, especially if we're going to promote that we want guys to improve and guys to compete and guys to get better, you got to have that availability. And that's not only the court, but I also make sure that our athletic training staff is available. Our team doctors are available. My strength and conditioning coach is available, right? And these are all items that I really think that for me personally helps our program stand out.
For sure.
So that really kind of sums up the I know I kind of ran through it kind of quickly.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, but just the coaches aspect. Good.
Yeah, so we have a question from Xavi Maldonado. Again, Xavi is from Puerto Rico. He's asking, how, as coaches and a program, can they put themselves in the best position possible to recruit an athlete that has multiple offers?
So I think it goes back to really what helps you stand out, right? And that's an interesting question because also too, I'm at the Division II level, for example, right? And obviously Division II has scholarships, but I may not have scholarships as many as another program, right? So it's kind of like, all right, that might be something that's kind of might be an advantage for another school, but I really think my biggest thing is I look, okay, what helps me stand out? I'm a coach that's available all the time, right? So I'm a coach that really helps develop players afterwards. I had 5 guys play overseas, one that was in the G League last year as well, right? So I really pride myself in my availability and in our development. So I really think, as a coach, what do you really ask yourself, what do you pride yourself in, and what helps you kind of stand out? Really, what do you think distinguishes you from others?
Now, at no point in time would you suggest, I'm trying to think of another way to say this, but I'm just going to say it this way. At no point in time when you're, going up against other schools, would you start to badmouth the other schools?
No, I never ever negative recruit.
Yeah.
That would never ever in a million years. That's something. Another thing that's a good point, coach, that I pride myself in. I'm trying to sell myself and my program and what we do there and our style of play and our culture, right? I'm not trying to negatively sell someone else.
I
And
think that's
again,
the
if it,
best way to put it too, is that you are focused on selling your program. You're not doing a comparison, apples and oranges and all that stuff. You're focused on who you are and why you believe that Molloy is the best fit for this athlete.
100%. And that's right. No offense to, but I'm not worried about the others. I'm worried about
Yep.
our program and how we can be that fit for that student athlete.
No, yeah, I think that's a high level mindset to have.
So that kind of sums up the coaching aspect. I don't know if there's any other questions on it, but I'm going to move on to the student athlete.
Yeah, let's move on to student athlete and then we can circle back later.
Cool. Okay. So for this one, I really kind of made it kind of do's and don'ts, for the recruits. The first thing I really like was when student athletes kind of narrow your college basis, right? Don't just send out like mass emails. I've gotten emails from recruits where I've seen 300 coaches on it. And it's kind of just like, it goes the old saying, like throw spaghetti in the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah.
Right? Really, I mean, this is many years ago. I won't tell you how old I am. But when I was selecting a college, right, I kind of said, what are my top 3 must-haves? Right? Was it proximity? What was it, maybe something scholastically, maybe something, off campus, whatever it may be, but really kind of narrow your college search based on your top requirements. The next one is kind of attend, we talked about attending camps and showcases, but don't just attend all of them, right? Attend the ones in the area where you think you can play, the region you want to be in, ours, Molloy, and I'll provide this after, Coach, if you want to distribute it. We're having a prospect camp September 21st. And with that, we really try to make it an A to Z experience for the prospective student athletes in terms of, meeting players, a tour, right? Drills, live play, instruction, a talk in the classroom, right? Try to give them that A to Z, experience in that 1 day time frame.
Well, let me ask you about that too, since we're on that topic. Let's say here I am, I'm a recruit and I'm coming into that camp. What are some of the things that I can do? Like realistically speaking, I'm coming to this camp. I want to go to Molloy. What are the things that I can do besides, shoot lights out to actually get on your radar and not just kind of like give you some money so this way you can make extra money for the program?
For sure. First and foremost, come and introduce yourself, right? Introduce yourself to all the coaches, not just myself, the other coaches as well, right? Really, have that conversation. It doesn't have to be a long conversation because, like you said, there might be obviously multiple student athletes there. It's only a certain time frame. But first and foremost, introduce yourself. Second of all, I would say, explain kind of what distinguishes yourself. What can you offer for the program? And third of all, and I talked about here is, provide game and training schedules. Because if you give me a schedule, I'm more than likely going to come to that game or to that showcase or that workout, as opposed to just saying, oh, there's this one game. But if you give me a whole schedule of all games, I'm going to most likely go ahead and attend one of those and come see you play.
Yeah, I think that's huge too. And so would you say that even having something like, Coach, I'm going to shoot you an email like, hey, I'm Justin Brandt. This is who I am. This is where I play. I'm going to shoot you an email later tonight. So this way you have all of my information. You have my schedule. You have my academic information. You have, I don't know, just who my coach is, who my AAU coach is. And so this way, that's a follow-up opportunity for you as well.
Definitely. And even, I would even suggest even a preemptive one as well. And I'll give you an example. One of the student athletes we had at the showcase last year, he's actually going to be on our roster this year. And how he went about it was he sent me a preemptive email to begin with, say, hey, Coach, my name is so-and-so. I'm going to be attending your camp. Would love to introduce myself in person ahead of time and talk with you. So I thought that was very interesting because it just helped distinguish himself from the others right off the bat, right? Before he even got in the court and he got to the rim and he was dunking, like you said, right? It was, you have that aspect as well, which obviously you want. But right away I'm going, oh man, this is the kid I got to, right? When I woke up that morning, this is the kid I got to talk to, right? And then as a follow-up, like you said, I got that schedule. Hey, Coach, here's my season schedule. And if you can't make that, here's who my trainer is, and I'll get a workout set up for you. Because like you said, it's the season, right? You're on the road, you're dealing with your student athletes, right? You're doing scouts, you're doing player development, right? As coaches, it's not just recruiting, we're all doing A to Z, even though recruiting is the majority of it. It's kind of really what's distinguishing yourself out right ahead.
I love that. I love the fact that, they're meeting you halfway too. They're saying, if you can't make a game, like, I'm gonna make it work for you. You can come see a workout and we'll make it happen that way. Like that, I think that's a huge lesson for every student athlete. You have to take control of your journey. It can't
Definitely.
be a thing where, like, you say to yourself, oh, if I'm good enough, they'll come find me. Coach, I'm sure you have a million things that you're doing on a daily basis.
Definitely.
So having these athletes take control of their journey, being proactive, like you said, sending that preemptive email is huge. It's a game changer.
And my theory on it too is, if these kids are doing it in their junior, senior, going into the senior year of high school, to me, the sky's the limit in terms of maturity, in terms of, what are they going to do when they come to our program? They're probably going to turn it on even more, right? Like already, my mind starts going, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to have to worry about this kid getting in the gym. I'm not going to have to worry about this kid doing the right thing. If he's already doing this and showing this level of maturity at this younger age and this beginning of the stage of the process, that to me says a lot about that person.
Love that.
You know, um, the last thing or last two things under dues I'll say is use social media to promote yourself, right? But in the right manner. So make sure you, like, when you have, profiles on Twitter or Instagram, make sure you have everything there. Your phone number, you know what I mean? Like your contact details, your position, maybe some stats, your height, who's your AU coach, who's your school coach, right? Make sure your profiles are always, complete. Make sure obviously you're not doing anything inappropriate, right? Because coaches do look at that, and obviously, that could affect you. The last thing I'll say is always be open, entertain all options and offers. Don't think you're higher than somebody else. Don't think you're better than somebody else. Always be open, always be respectful. We talked about it before. Establishing that relationship, because you never know what happens. You may think you're getting that D1 offer, or you may think you're getting that D2 offer, and it doesn't happen, right? You really want to always have that relationship, and always be open and to all options.
Let me ask you too, because you were talking about using social media to promote yourself and, not having inappropriate content on there. So make sure that, as you hear this, do a social media audit. Take down anything that, if somebody tomorrow grabbed that post and they put it up on TV and they said, hey, does this directly represent who you are? If you can't 100% stand in front of everybody and say, yes, this represents who I am, take it down. Right? You don't want anything out there that's representing
Definitely.
you negatively. But would you say that, obviously everybody has, their usernames on their different social media? Would you say that it's a good idea to have your name be your name instead of,
100%.
something crazy
Yeah.
like Burn a Boy, whatever?
No, have you? It's so funny you said that, coach. Because on my last slide, when people want to contact me, I'll show you. That's what mine is, right? It's that's what it is. It's just, it's straightforward. You know who the individual is. You don't have to worry about kind of, this name or that name, right? It's very straightforward, and it's go back to the professional aspect. It's professional as well.
Right, exactly. You want people to know who you are. You don't want people, looking around for trying to figure out who you are. I mean, we got DJ Sackman. That's DJ's Instagram, his Twitter, underscore Coach JB, right? Like, that's mine. HoopStudy, right? Like, they're easy for people to remember. They're professional. Everything is there for you. Coach, tell us yours as well, so this way everybody can find
Yeah,
you on
it's
social.
at Jason Gaudioso. That's what it is,
Look
right?
at that.
And that's for Twitter, and that's for Instagram. And my DMs are open. So again, if you guys have any questions at all, it doesn't have to be now. Contact me tomorrow, a week, month. I love networking. And I'm very grateful. Like I said earlier, I'm very grateful for the opportunities I was given. So I really always want to give back.
But
So
again, athletes, remember, when you reach out to Coach G, make sure you have these things lined up, ready to go, right? It says right on here, provide game and training schedule to your colleges that you're interested in, right? If you're interested and talking to Coach G or some other coach for that matter, make sure you have your materials ready to go. At HoopStudy, we've actually created an entire guide for you, our college recruiting guide, where it walks you step by step through all of these different things. So if you're interested in that as well, just hit us up, Justin@hoopstudy.com. But again, even if you're not interested in getting that, we're telling you right now, provide your game and your training schedule. So this way the coach knows, okay, I want to recruit this individual. This is how I can do it. But let's talk about some of the things that they shouldn't do. What are the things
Definitely.
that these
Yeah.
recruits should not do?
Yeah. So we talked about the social media aspect, but the highlight tapes, no free throws. It's really the first thing. I laugh, but free throws we're supposed to be making, right? That's not your highlight, in my opinion, right?
What if the team only shot like 40% from the free
Right.
throw line the year before? You could get recruited just by
Just
like,
for the
look, I'm
free
not
throw,
Shaq. I can
right?
knock down free throws. You guys were garbage at that last year.
Exactly. It's true. That's true. Right. I can help you guys, right? Um, music is optional, right? I'm not gonna lie, me myself, I'm an old school guy, so 9 times out of 10, I probably just mute it, right?
Yeah.
I want to see them play, right? No more than 2 3 minutes. If I get something 10 minutes or 8 minutes, I'm just gonna get annoyed, right? Because it's long. I really want to see the 2 to 3 things that you do really well, right? But I also want to see those intangibles as well, coach, as you talked about before, right? The floor and the attitude, right? And that's why we say highlight tapes and full game tapes. I want to see your badge as well. I want to see how you react to it. Um, and then the last thing is, make sure the coaches know your number. If unless you're 7 foot and you can distinguish you, right? Okay, fine. But sometimes it might be hard to distinguish you from someone else. So just make sure that they know who you are in that tape.
Yeah, and the game film too, sometimes it can be a little choppy. And again, that's why we talk about synergy, right? And if you're an athlete, your coach might not know about synergy, if we're being honest. Like a lot of coaches still have this, and rightfully so. A lot of coaches still believe that synergy is not an option for high school basketball because they're used to just knowing, oh, that's for colleges, that's for professionals. Anybody can get synergy now, right? And it really helps with your recruiting and getting your film out there. So, talk to your coach about that as well. And just to be clear too, shout out to Shaq in case Shaq watches this video, because I know that happens. Shaq is a good free throw shooter. He'll tell you that the big deals he can knock down his free throws. He just struggled with them in game.
For
Um,
sure.
but yeah, no, for sure. Knowing the number is huge because the coaches are going to be looking for that number. And again, with the music thing, err on the side of caution. Nobody wants to hear, you know, music with profanity in it or language that you should just only listen to when you're with your friends, or just be very conscious about the way that you're presenting yourself.
Definitely for sure. So so this that again that now sums up kind of the recruit aspect of it. The next slide I'll get into is kind of really the questions I really ask myself as a coach, right? And I hope other coaches do as well, and recruits as well. For me, and I'll sum it up a little bit, is do I have everything for my program to be successful? Right? Do I have the right student athletes? Do I have the guys that want to be there? And how do we continuously improve? I'm a big believer in getting 1% better every day. And this sounds kind of crazy, but I get up every morning and I really think of how can I get my program better every day? Do I have the right recruits? Am I looking at it from a complete landscape? Right. I always, my motto is no stone not unturned. Right. So I'm always making sure, like you talked about a coach earlier about going to the showcases and the tapes and the events and whatnot. Right. To me, recruiting is a contact sport, right? Making those contacts early, making those contacts, a good amount of times, and making sure you've touched all areas, and all different coaches, and really knowing that recruit from A to Z. And what do you use for recruiting? I have a whole active database where I can tell you everything about my recruit. I meet with my head coach on a regular basis. We go through them, right? Kind of share ideas and why they would fit or why they would not fit. But really just kind of keeping yourself organized, I think, is really the key or the major point for that question.
So, with that being said, too, and like you said before, we haven't talked about this yet. And if you want to cover it later, that's fine. But I believe, and this is through experience of coaching college basketball. This is experience of coaching high school basketball, where now coaches are trying to pull players from other programs and have them come to their high school. How much do you value recruiting the athletes that are in your program? Not, just like, oh, they're at our school. Cool. Now I don't have to worry about it anymore.
To me, you mean the ones that have committed already to your?
The athlete, I'm a sophomore at Molloy. I'm in the program. I've been here for 2 years. I did really well. And maybe I think about transferring out somewhere else. How do you make sure that you're recruiting that athlete to make sure that that he doesn't just leave and go to, Queens University of Charlotte or, Lipscomb or some other school that's out there?
So to be honest with you, coach, my motto with that is that's my most important recruit. That's my most important commit.
Love that.
And because if I don't have that individual, then I can't do what I do and I can't have a chance to win. I can't have a chance to run a successful program. So for me, I'm in constant contact with my players. And I'm not saying constant contact where it's like, call me every 5 minutes, let me know what you're doing. But it even is just to just talk about daily events, and doesn't always have to be basketball, right? Yes, most of it is basketball, right? But if I see something on Instagram that might be motivating, sending it to them, maybe doing FaceTime every now and then just to see what they're up to, really, something they might like, I'll send it to them, just touching base with them, I think really goes a long way. And I think they're the most important recruits and commits that we have.
Yeah, I love that.
So the recruiting questions, I think we talked about this a little bit before, right? The one piece I didn't talk about is, we talked about having your information ready. You talked about your profiles and whatnot. Now, the last question is kind of, do you have your transcripts ready to send? I love when guys answer me right away, right? If a coach reaches out to you, don't wait a day or two. Even if you have to get their information, respond back. Just let them know, hey, you know what? I'm working on it. I'll have it to you, by Friday, whatever the time frame may be. But I love guys that get back to me right away. And even my guys in my program know now. The sooner the better, because I think, it helps me because, as a coach, you have so many, like you said, you have so many things going on, number one. Number two, it shows a sign of respect as well. So, having your profile, ready, available, having your game schedule available, having your highlight tape, your full game tapes, right? And then also having transcripts available as well is really, you really want that as your kind of your recruit package. So when a college coach asks you for it, you readily send it. And even if a college coach doesn't ask for it, if you research the college, and you say, you know what, Molloy's great for me because it's close to home and I want to be home, or it has the major I want or whatnot, right? When you're emailing that coach, you send me that information. I don't have to go ask for it, right? So, I love when guys are really prepared, and I think that goes away, and that will spark an interest, right? Obviously, we want you to be very good athletically and be able to do what we need to do from a position standpoint. But I also think that those are intangibles which matter as well.
Yeah, and it's the professionalism, right? If you're showing up professional for your recruiting, then as you said before, when it comes to preparing professionally for a game or for the season, more than likely that's going to carry over onto the court as well.
For sure, for sure. And last thing I'll say too with the recruiting is when you're sending emails, we talked about the mass emails, but also generic emails too. I don't want to hear, oh, I'm a point guard and I'm really improving, right? Really, what distinguishes you? Yes, you might be a lights out shooter, but what, or lights out shooter, or a good distributor, or rebounder, whatever it may be. But what really distinguishes you from another recruit? And I'll give you an example. I had a recruit I talked to a couple weeks ago who watched three of our games during the season and gave me a breakdown on the games. And it was actually, I thought that was very impressive because not only did he research our program and watch the games, but we also agreed on it as well. So I'm like, right off the bat, I'm saying, wow, you're making that connection. You're saying, okay, this is starting to check all the boxes off from a recruit standpoint. And like, okay, give me your schedule, right? And you start to tick off those boxes. And I think something like that just shows their level of maturity, but also shows their interest. And, as a coach, we find that very beneficial.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because I was halfway joking around earlier when I brought up the free throws. Because one of the things that we teach our athletes who go through our recruiting guide is that you need to research the school and you need to see what their needs are. Because let's just say, for the sake of argument here, let's just say that they want to come to Molloy and they're a point guard. However, Molloy has 4 point guards right now.
Yep.
It might not be something where it's personal, where you just look at Justin Brand, you're like, look, man, like I love your game, but I'm sorry, like I already have 4 point guards. I can't do anything with you.
Exactly. You're not going to have a log jam of that position. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's huge. Make sure you do your research. And when people tell you no, same thing as, if you tell a coach, no, sorry, look, I really appreciate the offer, but, I'm really looking to go in a different direction. Remember that on your side as well as a student athlete. If a coach tells you no, there's reason behind it, and there's not reason there to offend you. The reasoning there, and correct me if I'm wrong, coach, you can ask for feedback.
Definitely.
If you don't want to recruit me, if I don't fit you, why is that? Because now that might help you with your recruiting down the road as well.
100%, and that's a great point. And I've had those conversations with recruits where I've told them no, and they said, well, coach, can you give me some feedback? I think that's great because then you can work on yourself for another school. But it also, again, it goes back to that maturity aspect, right? And who knows if that recruit doesn't, get better or go prep or whatever it may be. And, maybe somebody we then need later on, right? But we've ended it in a professional manner. I think that's huge. But I think if you could ask for feedback, that's another great point to put in your emails as well.
I would ask this as well. And especially, with the environment of today, everything that goes on. If let's just say an athlete reaches out to you, they want to get recruited. Right now, you tell them, look, hey, sorry, I don't have a position for you. Is it fair to say that, let's say, you tell student athlete A, no, right now I can't use you. I'm sorry. But then Kyle Neptune calls you up and you get to go back to your alma mater. And now you're in a new position. Maybe athlete A that you told no at Molloy, maybe is an option over here. So going back to not burning bridges, maybe that's another opportunity for you to receive that feedback. You go and you work on your game. Now Coach G is at Villanova. You're actually a D1 athlete now. Now you have that in with Villanova.
Definitely. It goes back to relationship aspect. Also, too, we talked about the portal, right? You talked about maybe have too many, some program has too many guards, right? Hey, you lose a guard tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? You have a roster spot. You you have a fill or a need, and you still have that relationship with that recruit. So it's all about keeping that relationship up. And I think the relationships are the crux for recruiting. That to me is the most important aspect of recruiting. Relationship with the recruits, relationship with the coaches, relationship with individuals who run the showcases. Everybody. It's really just being that person that has relationships with everyone.
So with that being said, too, what are some of the things that you're looking at an athlete, they look great, they've got good grades, but something pops up where you look at and you're like, and I'd really love to take a chance on this person, but I can't because they did X, Y, and Z. What are some of those things that may stand out that take them off your board?
So I would say something, first and foremost, something inappropriate, right? Whether it be social media, whether it be in the game. I've had, just to give you, examples, I've had student athletes I've recruited and they've gotten into fights in games, gotten thrown out, changed the whole tune of the game where they were doing excellent. We need, the recruits are selling themselves, coaches are selling themselves. We need to have a professional program with standards and with cultures. So those intangibles in terms of, something inappropriate, arguing, not coachable, bad attitude, those are the things that I would say that take yourself off the board. Obviously, yes, we want, very skilled players, but if I can't coach you, how can I do my job? Right? If I have to spend my attention on one individual the whole season, that's not fair to my other 14 guys, number one, and number two, that I can't run a successful program that way, right? Just worrying about one individual. So it goes back to that saying, the OKG, right? Our kind of guy. And those are some of the things we look for when we look for a student athlete for us.
Yeah, and that was my follow-up question as well. When it comes to Molloy, and I know attitude's big for you, right?
For sure.
And knowing your guy, what are some of and I love the fact that you use the word standards. I think standards by nature help people raise up who they are and improve who they are. When it comes to rules, I think rules are oppressive and they hold people back, right? So that you can't do this, as opposed to saying like, hey, you can do this. Like, come on, like you could get better at this. So what are some of those standards? Who is a guy that like you want at Molloy?
So so real quick before I say that, it's funny you said that. Our model at Molloy is we don't have rules.
I love that.
That's
I
the
love
first.
that.
So we'll have a team meeting 2 days or 3 days before we start our first preseason practice. And that's the first thing we say. So we have a PowerPoint similar to here, right? Sharing the screen, right? And we'll actually say we don't have rules, we have standards.
I love
So
that.
that's the first and foremost. Second thing is I want guys that are going to be on time. I want guys that are going to be there early, right? That want to have to fight out of the gym. Guys that are going to compete. Guys that want to improve. Guys that are good model student athletes for the campus, for us, that are good representations of us. We're going on the road. They're representing themselves in the right way. They're always doing the right thing. I like guys also too that also speak up. I don't need a quiet individual. I want leaders on my team. I want 15 leaders in my program. And everybody on my program gets an opportunity to lead. It's a matter of they take that. But as coaches, it's our job to encourage it. It's our job to give them those tools or to become leaders. But I love guys that are constantly speaking up, giving ideas, because as coaches, I'm not going to always do everything right. It's like they're not going to always do everything right. But that's where I feel that relationship comes into play, where you can kind of you kind of provide feedback, and they provide feedback as well. And I think that's what helps your program really grow and help to be successful.
I got two things for you. First, I think this, if you haven't heard this quote before or this motto before, I think that you'll really enjoy it based off of what you were just talking about. The U.S. Navy SEALs, they say, ready to lead, ready to follow, never quit. And essentially what they're talking about there is that in a firefight, for the SEALs, when they're actually out and they're doing their work, it's very possible that somebody could, get hit and go down. So whoever was following right then, they might have to step up and lead, right? At the same time, you might be in a situation where, I think I'm really good at what I do, but maybe Coach G is a little bit better than me in this scenario. So I'm going to take a back seat and let him lead. Right.
For
And
sure.
then, obviously never quit. Just don't give up. Keep pushing through. When it
And I
comes,
love it when you guys
go ahead.
have, I talked about loyalty before, loyalty and having each other's back.
Yeah.
I'll say to our guys, I have your back. Do you have mine? Right. And I know when I get an affirmative, yes, I know we're ready to go at that locker room. We're ready to go and take care of business on the court. So I think, when you have that and you have guys that buy into the program and to those standards, it helps your program become successful.
This might not have 100% to do with recruiting. This might just be coaching and leading people, as a whole. When it comes to the standards, you said that you all have a PowerPoint that you give, right? I think this is a
Correct.
really
Yep.
powerful lesson here. Your standards are in that PowerPoint.
Yes, sir. Yep.
It is crucial that you all write down your standards and make them known. You can't have people assume things. If I say that early means that we are there 15 minutes before that our meeting begins, everybody knows that before a meeting begins at 15 minutes beforehand, we're supposed to be there.
And something else, coach, that we do is we have them, that's a great point. So in addition to just putting up as a PowerPoint, we have the guys actually sign them.
Let's go.
right? And we have them sign them. And I know, it sounds, this might sound kind of crazy. It's like, all right, we have them sign standards, right? You want a lot of these intangibles, but all these things matter. And I really, really believe in it. And it goes into the 1% comment, getting 1% better every day, holding yourself accountable. I'll give you another example. I have someone in my program who's an excellent shooter. The ability to score is great. But when he wouldn't wake up within a certain time frame in the morning, he'd have an off day. But guess what? When we started started working on that, and he woke up at a certain time because he got his mind ready, his body ready, he got a good breakfast in. It completely changed his game, and it's just those little things. I hate to say it, but they actually do matter and they add up, and especially at the college level.
Absolutely. Anytime you can, people say don't sweat the small stuff. The small stuff makes all the difference in the world. If you think about it like a brick building, if one of those bricks are out of place, that foundation is no longer strong.
100%. I
So,
mean, don't get me wrong. We have to, like you said before, in terms of the athletic skills, right, and the position needs. Yes, that all has to be there as well. But it's a lot of these intangibles that mean something as well.
yeah, that's huge too, right? Like this is all great. Everything that we talked about recruiting is very important tonight. All the small details, how to email people, the questions to ask, having the materials in place, but you have to be good enough too.
Definitely, and especially, if it's something, that helps separate yourself out, maybe like you said, you're a point guard based on needs, or you're a big, or or a wing or a slasher, right? Those are the things you want to obviously highlight as well, your ability and why you fit into the program and what separates yourself out.
If a student athlete were to send you a DM or an email tomorrow, what is a subject that would make you say, I'm going to open this email, as opposed to just saying, like, all right, click, 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 delete?
So I'd say first and foremost, complete info. Second of all is what's something that separates yourself out, right? What do you do really well? Why should we look at you, right? So maybe you're a big who's averaged 20 rebounds. I'm just trying to give it an example, right? Why would Molloy be interested in you, and why would we look to offer you an athletic scholarship? Second thing is having that highlight tape, but then also having that full game tape as well. The less that I have to ask for, and the more I'm getting, that's a better situation right off the bat. Really having it in a professional manner. Not just like, yo, coach, right?
Yeah.
Right. Hi, coach Gaudioso, right? This is, I watched your program and noticed maybe the last 3 games you did this, you know what I mean? Something of that nature, where you really followed us and you really paid attention to us, where the coaches don't feel it's just a generic email. The amount of generic emails I get on a daily basis, and that is a really good amount, and that's what's going to cause a coach to just hit the delete button. But if you find something that's really going to make yourself stand out, because you've done that research, or you have the ability to do X, Y, and Z because the program needs that, right? Make sure you highlight that in that email. And I can tell you right now, coach isn't going to delete that email. They're going to contact you. They may not offer you because of X, Y, and Z, but at least they're going to contact you, so at least you get that initial contact.
Yeah. So subject line, Ryan Powell, 6'5", slashing point guard, average 15 points per game, 6 rebounds, right? Like you could put all that stuff there in the subject. And that in itself is just going to make you get a little curious. Click on,
And,
like, let's see Ryan Powell.
and coach, that right there, that example, I would open it, because you want to know why? Because you're telling me I'm 6'5" slasher. At the D2 level in the ECC conference, I'm going, wow, all right. Let me see some now. Let me see some of this tape.
Yeah.
Right. So you start to get in. My point is, your mind starts to get going. You start to get interested, right? And then you just start going, watching and interacting and going from there.
For sure. Set yourself apart, but don't lie too. Don't say you're
Exactly.
6'5", but you're coming in
Right.
at 5'11".
Exactly. The last thing I'll say too is be persistent but not annoying. Right. If a coach doesn't answer you, maybe he didn't read it for some reason, or didn't see it, right? But don't send the next day, right? Maybe wait a week or two, right? But follow up. But the persistency, I think, is key, but just not to the point of obviously annoying, right? So
Yeah, no, that's a huge one as well. Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us tonight. Again, if you have anything going on right now, if there's an event that you're going to, I know you guys have camp coming up if you want to talk about that.
For sure.
Anything that you want to just go ahead and highlight your brand right now, yourself, Molloy, whoever, go ahead. This is your opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just as one more slide, like I said before, it's at Jason Gaudioso. There's the proof, right? For Twitter and Instagram. Gaudioso Hoops is just something I just started, but it's just more of, I do a lot of youth development, and that's just more for the younger kids, just to kind of like to give back, number one, but also I want a lot of them, the local kids where I'm at, to really learn the right way to play, right? So and to guide them, right? Whether it's guide them into to an AAU program or to a trainer or whatnot. So something just I've started recently, hasn't really taken off yet. But again, I'm always available for questions. I love the network. I was, especially during COVID and through the NABC, I met a lot of D1 coaches who I still talk to today because of it. And we don't talk about recruiting. We talk about defensive concepts or maybe the standards that we talked about earlier. I think it's always good to share ideas and to build our community stronger. Like I said, September 21st, which is a Saturday from 10 to 2, we're going to have our prospect camp. Coach, I'll send you the link if you could send it out. That'd be
For sure.
wonderful, greatly
Definitely.
appreciated. Right, it's going to give the whole A to Z in terms of stations, in terms of live play, in terms of instructions, in terms of talks from the coaches, similar to what we talked about today. Right, a tour of campus. Right, meeting with the guys in our program. We really want those prospective student athletes to understand what it takes and what it feels like to play at the next level.
Love that. Last question of the day for you ask every single person who presents. If you could have anybody come on and speak on the next HoopStudy Masterclass. Now, there's only one rule here. You have to be able to help us get this person come on and present. Who would that person be?
Oh, that's a great. I know who I would want, but I don't know if I can get.
Yeah, you got to be able to help us get them.
Good. Gotta do that. That's a good one. That's a good one. I didn't know I'd get this question. This is a tough. This is
a good one. It's a good one.
It's a really good one. I have a coaching network. One of my former slides I talked about our inner circle, guys that I trust and guys I would have on. Coach K always talks about his bus. Who would be on your bus?
There you go.
And these guys would be on my bus. I probably would have my friend Mike McSloy, who's the head coach at Drew University over in Madison, New Jersey. Just an up and coming head coach. We've worked together over at St. Joseph's University. We beat some tough opponents together. But I think, just his ideas and philosophies in terms of building a program from scratch and just his experiences, I think would be very beneficial to the coaching community.
I love that. And who's your dream coach that you don't know if you could help us get with?
It probably would be Danny Hurley. Just his mindset, right? I think his mindset and the things he does is very old school and it works. Yeah. Right. Very similar to Jay Wright and Kyle now with fundamentals. Right. If you look at UConn, right, they're doing ball handling drills and head wraps and knee wraps. Right. I'm not gonna lie, I take some of the things from them and incorporate in my practice. Right. But I really do think, you talk about building that house and building that brick. I really do think fundamentals are the basis for it. So I'm a big fan of that.
Love that. Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us tonight. Again, just a reminder, if anybody needs gear of any sort, t-shirts, hoodies, backpacks, sweats, whatever the case may be, socks, make sure you check out Wooter Apparel. If you need film, again, somebody breaking down your film, you need access, you're trying to watch different games, check out Synergy Sports.